From Peoria, Illinois.
We have a lot of stressors around us and still feel empowered.
To Houston, Texas.
I have curves.
Our lingerie collection designed for all body types.
I'm powerful. I'm within my own body.
Making her own way around the world.
I just did New York Fashion Week.
The owner and founder of Delisa Rose.
It's really showing a lot of the intimacy within myself.
This is An Intimate Night with Delisa Rose, a podcast for every woman.
Finally, there's something for us, right?
People who've been listening to this podcast, Quee, know that you are very, very busy. We're going to talk a little today about some of the things that could potentially come out of this show. But first, what have you been doing lately? I understand and I watch your social, so I know you've been busy. What's going on?
Oh, gosh, I've been doing so much lately. As you just mentioned, you watch my social, so you probably can tell that I'm preparing for one of the biggest shows in fashion, which is Paris Fashion Week.
Ooh la la!
I know, right? Yay! Yeah, so it's exciting. We have 8 to 10 new designs that we are creating currently. On top of that, I've just launched our first collection of the summer collection called Summer Vibes Collection. And in this collection, you'll see some vibrant colors, floral patterns, and fabrics that we're going to be using for this collection. Then I'll be in New York in the next couple of weeks for my second collection. So, and then we have one more collection after that, just kind of, in the season of summer. And this has been crazy because it wasn't my intention to create 18 new designs in such a short span across 5 months, which is very aggressive and very hard to do. And that's really unheard of. I mean, it takes a long time to do the process of development and developing new designs from sketch to producing the garments. But my team has been working overtime, and I have a kind of a dual team. So I have 2 different production teams working on 2 different projects currently. So it's been busy, and I had some travel. I've been in Boston a couple of times for my engineering job. So I'm still doing that. And and then of course we're still podcasting.
So look, just to be clear, the stuff that you're doing for summer is going to be different than what you're going to design for Paris, correct?
Oh, yeah. The Paris stuff is absolutely breathtaking. I mean, if you want, I can tell you the name of the collection. I could hold it, or, we can wait till it gets a little bit more closer.
Ooh, yeah, maybe we should tease it. We'll get closer and talk, as you get closer to Paris. And of course, your podcast team should really come with you to Paris. I don't speak French, but I can do this a lot. So that would help, I feel. Okay. So is this the first time your stuff is going to be shown in Europe?
Yes. So, we did New York Fashion Week last year. So from the jump from New York Fashion Week to Paris Fashion Week in this early in my fashion career is absolutely amazing. Most designers don't get to Paris Fashion Week in less than 2 years. So I think this is a big accomplishment, a very huge accomplishment that I have achieved. And it was a dream of mine, and I'm excited. I'm excited to showcase my stuff international. Now, another great thing is early this year in March, I had my first international feature in the Underlines magazine that is just strictly lingerie content focused. And I was the designer spotlight in that magazine of one to watch for. And I'm just excited to have an international presence. Yeah.
Yeah, that's congratulations on the
Thank
article,
you.
but also on what's happening. Now, if I'm correct, lingerie is a French word. And so they sort of invented it over there.
They did.
Are you nervous?
No, I feel right at home. I feel like I'm fitting right in. This is my second trip to Paris. Obviously, I went to Paris a couple of years ago for my career work in engineering, but to come back as a designer is absolutely wonderful. So I'm not nervous at all. I feel like I belong in this industry, and I've earned it. So I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm really happy about it.
Well, I'm sure everyone listening, including me, is just as excited and happy for you. I wonder, do you have plans? We're not going to tell people what exactly it's called, but why don't you describe how some of these designs are going to be different than what you've done before?
So what I'm doing differently now for the Paris show is a lot of color. I rarely use different color palettes. I will say that this collection is it is more French focused. I did a lot of research. I didn't just come up with the collection and said, okay, I'm just going to create some beautiful designs. I really put a story behind this collection. I won't spill the tea on the name of the collection, but it is more whimsical, kind of, it's obviously girly, a lot of colors, a lot of color palettes, and we're playing with a lot of fabric choices, textiles, and things like that. And I consulted some other lingerie enthusiasts, people in that area. So designers, photographers, industry folks, women who works in production over there, what they see as far as trends, what colors make sense for the season, what's the French vibes in terms of, the culture. So I interviewed myself behind the scenes of some people who are actually there in real time, who lives in those communities, and they were able to kind of help me formulate a concept of this collection that we're going to show.
Oh, that's exciting. If you can comment, you're listening and commenting below, give us an indication of what you think the name will be. We'll guess it, and then we'll reveal it when we talk to you. You're coming to New York. We're going to actually go sort of backstage or behind the scenes during the design and a runway, and you'll give us the update there. But you mentioned the podcast, and you're great at it. I know you're getting more and more feedback about it. But people who listen to this know you have bigger dreams, and so we thought this episode we would kind of talk about some TV and movie ideas for the woman who already has engineer and now international lingerie designer in her job description. So we've talked about this offline. Before we get into what we think could be a television or a movie or any kind of a reality show, let's remind people of your first introduction to show business, not just in Illinois, but out in California. You wanted to be a dancer.
I was a dancer. So yes, I wanted to do, and I wouldn't even say was, I am a dancer. I'm a dancer. So I'm still very good at it. I just retired, but I wanted to be a professional dancer. I used to want to do Broadway, but my first dream, dancing was not my dream though. Honestly, it was acting. That's my first love. I want to be an actress, and dancing was just a way to kind of help me pivot and break into the industry in hopes of snagging a good role. But we talked about that. It wasn't as easy or clean cut as I thought. Hollywood is a beast. It is not an easy industry to navigate and just go and submit a resume and say, I got the job. So it's, you got to understand the dynamics of it. And it's a lot of networking that plays a very good part into becoming successful in this industry. So I have not given up. I'm still, keeping hope alive that one day, the fulfillment of this dream will come to pass, and I can be in a position where I can actually have a career as an actress.
Well, let's talk about that. Before we do though, do you find yourself choreographing actually the women who walk the runway for you?
No, but I do offer a lot of tips and movement for the sake of how the garment will tell a story in my design, right? So they don't necessarily dance, but they do I offer to have a certain walk, or if they have a certain look or walk that I do already like, I may ask them to tweak it a little bit just to show more of the garment. So it could be some flirty movements or some different ranges and movements and things like that, but they don't necessarily are going to bust out a dance move. I might do that though.
Yeah, okay. So let's pretend I'm your agent. And this is what actors, by the way, and reporters and producers and writers all do. They sit down in a room and they sort of spitball. We had some ideas that we talked about offline, and one of yours was a television show called Lady T, which is like a crime solving show, like Murder, She Wrote.
Exactly.
Yeah, do you would be good at that? You think that's something that you'd be interested in?
That's exactly what I would love to do. You know why, Bill? Because let me tell you, I am like a problem solver. I saw problems in my day-to-day life, like in real life, like on my job as an engineer. We're always solving problems. But let me tell you why I love this show is because she was a mystery. The show itself is kind of mystery and a lot of investigating. I like investigating shows.
You're talking about Angela Lansbury on Murder, She Wrote, the
Yeah,
great, great
Murder She Wrote.
actress. Yeah.
Exactly. Phenomenal woman, like just amazing. And I grew up watching that show and never would have thought I could relate to it until I become an adult and becoming to see like what my strengths and weaknesses are. And I think that that would be a show that would portray the type of acting I would like to do.
So that was in
So,
Cabot Cove, I think, a little like northeastern Cape Cod town. Would yours be in Houston?
no, we can do the same concept. We don't have to be in Houston. We actually, you know what? We could be in Houston, but sort of like a desert way, or Arizona where they have all of the, you know, I don't know, just a place we could build a set that it looks like crime and I'm solving a lot of crime.
Now, are
I
you
do.
undercover, do you think, or do you get hired like a private investigator and you're sent out on a case?
I could do both, but I would say hire like an investigator and send out on a case
Right,
for
because like you
sure.
said, you're a problem solver. You know what it reminds me of, and it's another Queen, Queen Latifah's Equalizer.
Oh yeah, but honestly, I don't. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, but when I think of it, I think of it like more like I said, the undercover first 48 type of, like you said, Dateline and Murder She Wrote. But Murder She Wrote is just a different type. Whoever was the writer for that show was phenomenal. I
Yeah,
like
they
the
were
writing.
fun. They were fun, and they had a lot
Yeah.
of what you call stunt casting these days. They had a lot of
Yeah,
special guests and that were big movie stars that would come on that show.
I know. See, yeah, and we can have the same thing. We can pull some movie stars that are, kind of in hiding today and be special co-stars and guests for my show, to grow the audience. And like I mentioned in my first episode, I will love it that Denzel Washington will be my mentor. He can actually come on the show.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Delisa Rose, your luxury lingerie destination, featuring in-house signature collections and other beautiful designs from around the world. Lingerie for every woman, many made to order with a nod to her engineering background. All shapes, all sizes. More at DelisaRoseLuxuryLingerie.com.
We are listening to a woman who dreams big, and we're talking about another sort of career path for the woman that we already know has an engineering degree, works around the world doing that, also has designed now a new line of French lingerie and is branching out. I don't know where you'd find the time, but for the purposes of this conversation, we're going to assume that you would have time. What about a sitcom? You're funny. You've got a lot of personality. Like a Roseanne or a Mary Tyler Moore or a Murphy Brown. You could have that dysfunctional family, or you could be a single, just a single working woman. That could work.
Yeah, I actually am very funny. I am like the funniest person. If you get to know me and a person sitting in the room with me, I'm a goofball. I'm just full of a lot of jokes. Like I don't pull pranks, but I'm so funny. I have a very good sense of humor. You know whose show is really, really good that I used to watch also when I was younger was Mama's Family.
Oh, right. Yeah.
She's amazing. She was funny.
Yeah. Vicki Lawrence developed that
Vicki
character, I
Lawrence.
think. Yeah, I think she
Exactly.
developed it
Vicki
on the Carol
Lawrence.
Burnett show and then kind of spun it off and had the Mayberry RFD guy, Ken Berry, was on the show. And a lot of veteran actors were there to support her, but she was basically
Exactly.
playing a woman 2 or 3 times her age. Now, you don't want to do a Tyler Perry or a Martin Lawrence kind of thing and
No, I don't want to do
put a
I don't
gray
want to
wig
do
on.
that.
No,
No,
no.
but I would do a Lucille Ball type thing. Okay. I would be the hottest lingerie designer, funny lingerie designer, but I'm full of jokes. So,
Q&A,
no.
it could be called.
Yeah.
Again, comment below if you think a sitcom is right for Quee. And what should we call it? Who would be some of the co-stars? If you could have anybody working right now that you could wrangle as people that would be either a part of, your dysfunctional family, like on Mama's Family, or in an office setting like a Murphy Brown or a Mary Tyler Moore, who are some of the people that you admire that you would sort of try and corral into this thing? If we're dreaming, let's dream big.
I mean, we said we dream big in the first a couple of episodes, like we talked about Meryl Streep. But these are my favorite people, like in acting. But like if I was to like rile up a group of men and women, I don't know that I would go more for seasoned actors or actresses. I would probably, and to be honest, I don't know who's on the up and coming, but I will definitely see who's in the industry that's trying to, get in their big break like me or something,
Yeah, I like that. I like that
Uh-huh.
kind of sentimentality because it is how you got started. And there's a lot of hard work. There's no such thing as an overnight sensation. Because they're
Yeah,
new to America doesn't mean they haven't been doing this for a long, long time. And
exactly.
some of the
And
people in the comedy world that you might go out and discover, may only be working around Houston or around Atlanta or around Chicago. And then they get a national launching pad like this.
exactly, it's I would love to say, oh yeah, I'll bring Roseanne on the show. I'll bring some of the comedians and big household names. But that's not always the case as it relates to like making a show popular. I think people just gravitate towards storyline of, one storyline, but then also they want to see fresh faces. I think we're itching for new faces in Hollywood. We're kind of have seen the same actors and actresses over the past 20 years, and it's time to give some new perspectives and some new talent a chance.
Well, here she comes. And we don't know who's going to be on the show yet, but we like the idea of a sitcom. Now let's pivot a little. What about a late night talk show? And what would you do differently? Would it be in Houston, or would you want to go to LA or come to New York? Or what would the big idea be besides putting you behind a desk? Would you even be at a desk, or would you be more like Ellen in a big comfortable chair across
I
from
I always like, yeah, it has to be a set, like a show, like the Wendy Williams show, but not necessarily the concept of Wendy Williams show. If it's a nighttime show or a daytime show, I do like the set. It wouldn't be like the desk sort of thing. I like having an live audience, talking about various of different topics and things like that. And it could be cultural, it could be some celebrity, it could be, some real life circumstances and situation, or it can be lingerie. Just
the whole show done in lingerie, and all the guests coming out in lingerie, including the men.
exactly.
Get some that would get some YouTube followers the next
Oh,
day.
they will love it. It's
It would go
different, right? We
viral.
would definitely have to create a show that's more pop culture of
You know
what
what's
we
funny about a late night show is it could be called Intimate Nights. I mean, it's back actually the same name as this podcast would make a lot of sense for something like that. It's funny, you mentioned Wendy Williams. When I tell people about you, I say, imagine Wendy Williams meets Mark Cuban, meaning that you're an entrepreneur and you're doing that thing, but you also have a larger than life personality that works, that kind of pops off the screen, or in this case, out of the speaker, and people are instantly intrigued by that, especially when I mentioned the fact that you're an engineer and now a lingerie designer. I wonder if that is a storyline for a sitcom, backing up for a second, would even be believable. I don't know if people would believe your story.
People always, I guess when they do meet me, they don't really, I guess, talk about what you do for a living, Queen. What are you doing for a living? It's crazy if you say that, because I actually today was somewhere this morning, and an older lady had asked me, what do you do for a living? Like, what do you do? And I just told her I work in the renewables industry. But I am also a designer, a lingerie designer. And she was like, what? Woo, like, how do you do the two?
It almost,
So
you must be tempted sometimes to go, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. I mean, it's when people ask, I mean, it's
I know, but I think like, what do one need to look like to do what they believe they can do, right? So I feel like in today's society, anyone could tap into their greatness and understand them who they are to say, okay, you know what? I will be good at this. I want to try this. Remember, Delisa Rose was literally birthed out of like a dark time in my life, right? So the circumstances in which we are put in, sometimes they bring out great, talents in us. So I think that if I hadn't discovered the deep part of me, I wouldn't have known if I had this talent to be a designer. I think it really just works because I'm analytical, right? So I work well with my brain. Like my mind works well with putting things together. Like, you have to have a lot of math and know a lot of science behind what you're doing or understanding with it, how the function of something works as an engineer, and then also incorporating that as special processes and manufacturing and things like that. It really wasn't hard for me to pivot into becoming a designer because I already think like that, right? In my day to day, I think like, okay, this doesn't work. Let's try this and or whatever the case may be. But in the case of lingerie, I just know like I wanted to develop something, a garment that spoke personally to myself. Like I didn't know it was gonna go as big as it is. If someone would have said you're gonna be doing Paris Fashion Week in less than 2 years of being a designer, I would have just like looked at them strange, right? Because I didn't come into the industry understanding I guess the industry as a whole, but the process to being a designer came from analytically thinking.
right. I guess that lends me sort of to the next conversation, which is if we didn't do any of these things, if it wasn't a late night show or it wasn't a sitcom, might it be the same kind of show that you're doing now, which is a reality-based show, like a Project Runway kind of thing? You mentioned
Oh,
earlier in
yeah.
the sitcom thing how great it was or would be to find new talent. What about a Project Runway kind of show where you're trying to find the next great lingerie designer?
I will love it because, honestly, I feel like I've achieved so much in my short time as being a designer. People actually still ask me to this day, what did you do? What steps did you take? People are seeking out to me. They're wanting my help. I guess I came into this thing not knowing, but then I quickly learned how to navigate myself in this industry and learn so much to the point where I could now teach people, right? And not only that, I would love to show people what I do on a day-to-day basis that has helped me achieve what I'm doing. And a reality show would be just phenomenal because it really will open up the doors of a lot of access to, the knowledge I have to help other designers achieve what they're trying to achieve.
You know, what's interesting about what you're saying is that this very podcast is kind of the blueprint for that. Like if you were going to Hollywood right now or coming to New York and you wanted to get a production company interested in a reality show based on your life, it would be probably called Intimate Nights or Backstage, or what the working title would just be about how you got where you are today. And those moments, like this podcast, could be fascinating, especially if you tied it into some kind of a contest show. Again, if you're liking what you're hearing, comment below. Tell us what you think the best thing that Quee could or should do in the future, because I
Yeah.
guarantee you she's going to do it one way or the other.
I'm going to do it. Listen, it's going to happen. You will see me on your screens. I don't know what screen. I don't know if it's going to be the big screen or your television or the reality world, but you will see more of me, I promise, in Hollywood. I'm
And we are
coming for
going to
you.
we will hear more of you. The next time we catch up with you, you will be in New York and we'll be,
Hey.
as I said, backstage at a very special unveiling, I guess, of some of the summer stuff. And I guess we have to tell people on the next episode what we're going to call that Parisian line. And then we're going to start a GoFundMe for your podcast crew to come with you to Paris. But if we don't, I know we'll at least speak by Zoom the way we're doing right now. Quee, it's always a pleasure. And I would say break a leg, but you need those models.
I do.
They can't hobble the runway.
No, it's not going to be I cannot think of the show where the girl took off her one leg and she was hopping. The Wayans brothers. Anyways.
You've been listening to Intimate Nights. We're glad you do. Thanks for listening, and we will catch up with you on the runway on our next episode.